Hey there, Al Perhacs, and welcome to this workshop that's going to be on hypnotic influence and mindset preeminence or mindset domination. And you're going to get a lot of great information, but not just information, because that's really not what I'm going to be sharing. I'm going to be sharing techniques, concepts, methods that you can immediately use. I've gotten hundreds of emails from people just like you saying, I want control, I want the power, I want to be able to take myself from where I'm at to where I want to go. And that's really what this is all about. So last week, last time we talked, or last session I did, last workshop was on quantum qigong, right? And so it was all about the energy, building up the energy. And I bring that up because we're going to integrate the concept of this mindset domination, hypnotic influence with the energy. I need to make this statement before we get started, is that there's a lot of people out there that talk about energy. There's a lot of people that talk about hypnotic influence, but most of them have no clue. I mean, some might be good in qigong, but they don't have any idea about the mind and how it connects with the energy. And then you have somebody that might be good with hypnosis, but they don't really understand the energy. But they talk about the energy because it's the cool thing to do. They'll even go get certification in certain things, but they don't have the real world experience. That's just what I've noticed. Now, I'm sure there's people out there that can do both. I've trained a lot of people that can do both, so I know they're out there, obviously. And I'm one of the people that can do both. So obviously, it's possible, okay? So the thing is that I want you to understand is that this program is really designed so that you're going to get results, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen here in just a minute, providing I can do that, and we'll be good to go. So what I'm going to teach you is really something special that you're going to be able to use to get control. I sent a bunch of emails out the last week or so, and I talked about the mind control that we're under right now, this particular time. It's really the most extraordinary time of my life anyway. I've been around, I'm 56 years old. And it's the first time I've ever seen the entire world on lockdown because of a virus, right? Coronavirus. And of course, this dates the video, but all the information that I'm going to be sharing in this video is really evergreen, which means it's not going to change really. Okay, you can use this now, today, and in the future. A lot of the concepts that I'm going to talk about, I taught 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I learned them 25 years ago. And I always say I've probably forgotten more than most people even know. And I believe that to be true. And probably a lot of my instructors were the same way. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into this kind of like I did last time. And I'm going to write on my whiteboard and flesh out these concepts for you. I would suggest you get out a pen and paper and you really follow along. I want this to be kind of like you're just listening to me if we were in a coaching session, a mentoring session, because this is pretty much how I coach people through the process, because I take them from where they're at to where they want to go, depending on no matter where they're at, right? So if they want to lose weight, they want to get in great shape, if they want to make their next $1 million, if they want to get a new job, if they want to improve their relationship, that's what I do. Okay, and I use all these different concepts, the energy and the mindset and the spiritual and the manifestation, the healing, all of it is combined, right? It's all designed to get the end result. And this piece of it is the hypnotic influence mindset domination, what I'm now even calling mindset preeminence, because it's really giving you preeminence over your mind. And if you want, you can really get preeminence over other people's minds. And I'm going to show you how that works a little bit today, which I think you might find to be rather extraordinary as well. But let's go right to the board, shall we? And let's see what we can talk about here. We're going to go to the whiteboard and see if this actually will work. So, hypnotic influence. And of course, my board's not working. So let me do this. Let me stop sharing. There, I got it working. So it's Hypnotic Influence. You know what? I got to plug in my pen. So I'll talk to you how I plug it in, because obviously my board is not recognizing the pen. Let's see if it is now. Hypnotic Influence, right? Which is a little different than just pure hypnosis. And then I add in the concept of mindset. Let's call it preeminence, right? And preeminence is where you have total control over a given situation. You can look that word up. Anything that I discuss here, obviously you can look up to get more clarification. Now, I know my handwriting is not the best in the world, but the reason I do it on the board is I want there to be an energy exchange, and I want this to be a little bit more interactive than what you normally see, a bunch of slides and so forth. And so I talked about that control factor, mind control, what's going on. Now, how are people controlling us? They're definitely controlling us. They're controlling us through the media. When I say there, I don't know who there is, quite frankly. Obviously, it's the media. It's our governments, right? They're saying you've got to stay inside. And for, a good cause, obviously, there's a virus that's out there that's causing, problems. And so we certainly want to be cognizant, aware of that. And and by the way, I'm going to make an offer to you today. If you're uncomfortable with that, you can go ahead and get off the workshop right now. But I can promise you this, it's going to be something that is going to open up your mind even more and give you more skills than you can ever imagine. And I'm going to showcase all of that in this pathway today, in addition to all the training that you're going to receive. But the reason I bring this up is that anyone that asks me that actually takes me up on any of the offers I make available to you today, I'm going to throw in the Vital Chi Healing program for you absolutely free. So, but you got to ask for it. And the reason I do that is because I want somebody that's watching this workshop to be able to write it down and say, if I order, make sure I ask for the Vital Chi Healing. So keep that in mind. So anyway, being controlled, mind control by the government. And the way they're doing that is obviously you've got this virus going on, and they're using that as a way to control you. Now, again, like I said, it's a valid reason. Or is it a valid reason? I don't even know. We won't know for about 6 months to a year if it's a really valid reason why they're shutting things down and keeping everybody inside. We really won't know. I'm going along with the plan just like everybody else is. I'm not going to be the type of person that says I'm going to go out and just do my thing and infect people. I'm not going to do that. I'm not stupid. Okay. But by the same token, in the back of my mind, I see this as something doesn't make sense to me here. It just doesn't seem right. And you should always question when you feel like you're being manipulated, because we are being manipulated and you are being manipulated. And this is a very powerful lesson for you to understand. Now, how are you being manipulated? The way that we're manipulated, and I'm going to use the media as the prime example. You're being manipulated by the media because they've got an agenda. Whether you want to believe that or not, they absolutely do. And so what they're going to do is they're going to give you whatever side of the story or whatever way they want to spin the story so that you can be influenced by it. Doesn't matter if it's right, left, it doesn't matter at all. They're going to spin it that particular perspective. There's probably not a right or a wrong. There's this and there's that, right? There's apples and there's oranges. But the media is influencing you every time you log on, every time you see the president speak, every time you see a mayor or a governor speak, every time you see the talking head on the media speak, that's influencing you. And it's influencing you one way or the other. And if you are watching more of one program than the other, you'll be influenced. And if the president says something and then the media talking head says, well, he didn't really say this, he really meant that, right? You're being influenced because they're telling you in a way what you just heard instead of letting you interpret what you just heard, right? So I know that sounds kind of crazy, but that's exactly what's going on. And the reason I build this context up for you is I want you to understand that this is the way it always has been. It always will be when it comes to control, right? The media and the government. Obviously, the government controls you. by telling you can't go out, and they could arrest you, they could fine you. And so there's consequences, right? There's always consequences. So how do you get away from that mind control? And you might be working with a company right now that has you under control because they're threatening you by saying, hey, you know, this coronavirus is going on. If you don't do this, you could lose your job. Or if you're not thinking the right way, you could lose your job, right? So it could be your company that you work for, and they're kind of threatening you, not in a maybe an overt way, but in a covert way, right? Letting you know, hey, if you don't do this, you might have some situations that you don't want to have to deal with. And so it's very important that you can interpret these things as we go, right? And I want you to be able to interpret it, not just from this stuff, but from your entire life. As you move forward from this day, I want you to be able to interpret. I want you to start thinking consciously, because we're going to talk a lot about conscious and unconscious or subconscious communication, because that's really what it's all about. And I'm going to teach you how to do that right here, right now. Now, I can't possibly teach you everything, because if you look at two of my courses, which are two of my best courses, the Ultimate Hypnotic Influence Program, which many of you downloaded, I think it was like a 30-minute part of that course that went in kind of like an introduction. That's 30 minutes of a 6-hour and 30-minute course of instruction, okay? And then my manipulation course is another 6 hours, right? So that's 12 hours, almost 13 hours of content. And then you add all the other training on top, and you're talking probably close to 20 hours or more, right? So that's a lot. So for me to try to cover all of that in an hour or a little bit more is not possible, right? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you enough nuggets and enough information that you can do one of two things. The first thing I want you to be able to do is I want you to be able to make a decision. If I could spell that, I want you to make a decision on becoming a controller. Now, you can follow and act on my advice. And by the way, I'm going to talk a little bit about that, because I sent an email that said act on my advice. But you're either going to follow my pathway, and I'm going to teach you, and I'm going to give you some great information, or you're going to take your own pathway, and that's fine. Either way is fine with me, but I want you to understand you need to become a controller of your life. Both physically, mentally, spiritually, you need to be the controller. You need to write that down, and you need to emblazon that into your mind. I am a controller. I control my life. The media doesn't control my life. The government doesn't control my life. My company doesn't control my life. I do. I may have to obey to the government, right? I may have to stay away from the media, and I may have to do my job a certain way, but that doesn't mean that they're in control. You see, and that's a conscious decision that you have to make that allows you to be able to make that difference, okay? And that's really the key when we talk about things like that. So let's go and talk about a couple different things. Is that I'm going to show you how by getting control of your mind consciously. So I like drawing these pictures. Sometimes they're not that good, but I use this picture a lot, right? This being the guy, right? And this being the mind, right? So you got the mind here, and you've got some other entity over here, or entities that are trying to control your mind, right? They're trying to control you. And so how do you stop that from happening? Right? So this is your mind, right? So if we talked about the two different levels of your mind, the first level is the conscious part of your mind. And the conscious is considered, I mean, it's really like the upper level of your mind, but in reality, it's the lower level of your mind, because the real upper level of your mind is the unconscious or subconscious. And if I spell things wrong, I'm letting you know ahead of time that I do that. And so you've got this layer that's underneath this layer. So if this was your conscious mind, right? We'll just put a big C here for conscious mind. You've got this other layer underneath. That's the subconscious mind. And that is the portion of the mind that we want to affect. However, in order to affect it, we need to make conscious decisions in order to do it. So the subconscious is far more powerful than the conscious mind, but we're going to have to use the conscious mind to tap into the subconscious. So it's conscious to subconscious. Now, obviously, when the media is trying to influence you, they're influencing you by influencing your subconscious mind, because they're sending these influencing things to you, and they're allowing you to be able to be influenced. So what we're going to do as we go through this is I'm going to teach you how to be free of that as much as possible. Let's face it, we're all being controlled. We're all being manipulated. Even myself, I wrote an email about the 4 stages that I have gone through in this process. I've gained about 10 pounds as a result of being in the house all the time. And so now I have a conscious awareness of it, because I weighed myself and I said, oh, okay, I gained like 8 pounds when I needed to lose 10 pounds already. So I'm really like 18 pounds in the hole, right? So there's a conscious decision that I have to make that says, okay, we've got to adjust what I'm doing in order to lose the weight, because it's not going to happen automatically. And more than likely, your life is not going to happen automatically either. However, we're going to use the subconscious so that you can be more on autopilot than you've ever been before. But just like eating, just like sleeping, just like working out in a gym, just like anything that you do, you've got to use it or you'll lose it. Use it or lose it, right? So that means if you're influencing your subconscious mind, you're going to be doing it for the rest of your life. You're going to be doing it anyway, right? Just like you're going to be eating until you die. You're going to be sleeping. You're not going to give up sleep because you decide that you're going to take up some kind of pursuit. Okay, I'm not going to sleep anymore. I'm not going to eat anymore. I'm just going to go do this, right? That doesn't happen. And so you've got to get it in your conscious mind that this connection, right, between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, this connection, it goes both ways. And whether you want to do it or not, it's a lifelong connection, right? So you got to make that conscious decision. It's a lifelong connection. And now I'm going to show you the best ways that you can control that connection and make that connection stronger. Now, what are some of the things that are going to benefit you when you make that connection, right? I mean, it's important to understand what those situations are, right? So one thing is mental clarity. Mental clarity. When you're not being controlled, your mind, when you're not letting the media control your mind, you're not watching the media 24/7, you get more mental clarity. Now, you get mental clarity from meditation. You get mental clarity from inductions. So that's through meditation and inductions. In hypnotic language, an induction, right, is where you put yourself into a trance or trance-like state, right? If you've ever been hypnotized, that's what they're doing. If you've ever meditated, that's pretty much what you're doing as well, okay? They're pretty much the same thing. And maybe this is a good time to tell you how did I get started in hypnotic influence when I started out as a martial artist and started doing Qigong. Well, let me just give you the really quick, the 5-second version. Is I started out martial arts, and then I started doing internal martial arts. We're just going to call this Qi. And then as I started to develop this energy, as I started to do meditations, right? We're going to go down here. We're going to call this meditation. Started doing meditations. I started to relax more. I noticed that between the energy and the meditation, that I became more hypnotic. by just because. And people would say to me, wow, sometimes the way you talk, it puts me in a trance. And see, I obviously had learned through my chi training is the power of the voice and the power of the energy, the tones, the inflections. And so all I needed to do was to put together the concept and understand that these things all integrated together, right? And then as my energy started growing even more, my perceptions grew more, and that gave me the ability of the psychic concepts. And then all of these concepts integrate perfectly well with abundance and manifestations. We'll call that abundance and manifestation, AM. And then the overarching thing that you can do after that is begin the healing process, right? And I didn't draw this diagram by design. I just kind of flowed with it. But that's kind of like the genesis of where I came into this. So it was all a natural progression. It wasn't like I studied this and said, oh, I hear a good thing to study would be hypnosis. I think that would be cool. No, it all flowed. That's how you know that you're doing the right thing, because it flows from one place to the other. And you need to start guiding your life like that. You need to start looking at your life and getting into the flow. And we talked a little bit about that last week, but it's something that needs to be talked about all the time, continuously. Flow. I'm getting into the flow. Now, again, taking notes on these things, I talked about being in control. I'm talking about now getting into the flow so that you can do all these amazing things. So I talked about mental clarity. We want to talk about affirmations, how they work, why they can work for you. And we're going to talk to you about doing that for losing weight. I just mentioned about losing weight, and I'm going to tell you what I'm doing currently to lose weight, get in shape, make a transformation for myself. There's also, quitting smoking. It's probably not a bad thing to do with this crazy thing, quitting smoking. Becoming more high performance. And that could mean so many different things. And I want you to write the word high performance down, I want you to look it up online. I want you to get your definition of what you think high performance is. And I want you to start shooting for that. And I don't care what you do right now. I don't care if you work on the back of a garbage truck, or if you're working as a janitor in a school and you're emptying garbage cans. I don't care what you do, or if you don't do anything. I want you to understand the concept of high performance, because I'm going to teach you how to become high performance. It's going to take time, but I'm going to show you how you can get on that pathway. And you are a perfect vessel. You've always been perfect. God made you perfect. And even though you think you're not, it's because of the mind control that you've had done on you your entire life, right? You are perfect. And, it's funny, you're perfect, but you're not perfect. When I say you're perfect in the sense that you have all the abilities that you can, but perfection in and of itself is an unattainable goal, right? So I'm kind of contradicting myself, but I want you to understand you're a perfect human, right? Because God made you, but you're imperfect because we have faults. We fall down, we fail. It happens. But when you understand that, you understand how you can pick yourself back up and move forward. That's the key. We're going to talk about money. Money's important, right? That's a big thing. I'm going to talk to you about how do you control your mind for money. I can tell you this, that when I do, I haven't done calls in a while, but when I do the calls, my free strategy sessions, 90% of the people that I talk to, if not more, want to know about how to use the laws of attraction to get more money, to use hypnotic influence to get more money. I'm going to cover some of that today as well. I'm sure you want to know about that, right? How do I make more? Everybody wants to do that. I want to know that. if one of my colleagues calls me up or texts me and says, hey, do you want to know how to make more money? I'm like, yeah, I want to know, right? Hey, I get this meditation on money. You want to know? But yeah, I want to know about it, right? I want to know about it all the time because I want to always hone in on getting better. And that's one thing you can understand about the Mind Force method is that you're always going to want to get better. Now, this is on the pathway. I call it ascension pathway because you're building up your energy. Now, if you took advantage of the quantum qigong offer that I made last time, that was a great deal. And if you're training with that, oh, by the way, if you're already part of the system, because I noticed that about 50% of the people that were on the training last time were already students at the highest level. So I want you to understand that if you haven't gone through this material in the hypnotic influence part of the training, you need to dive in. And again, it does take some investment of time, but it's well worth it, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about how you train with these techniques to get the most out of it, okay? So we're going to talk about that aspect of money. I'm going to talk about the integration of that body, right, that corresponds, and we'll kind of draw this out as the mind. This kind of looks like a brain a little bit. I guess this is kind of like the cerebrum, or whatever you call it. This is the mind, right? And this is the body, right? We're going to show you how you can take that energy and grow it like the Incredible Hulk so that you've got incredible amount of energy. But it doesn't do you any good if your mind is like this, with these stress points and this control, and you can't focus, and you don't know how to get yourself into a place that is going to get you where you want to go. All of this doesn't matter if you don't have this. And if you don't have this, but just this, you're not going to get the benefits either. So you have to understand that everything integrates together. It's not one or the other. Sometimes people will say to me, hey, I just want to do the energy. I just want to be healthier. And I always say, hey, that's great. But I'll tell you what, as you start getting that stuff going, I want you to also study some of these other things because I want you to be complete, right? That's the key, being complete. And the only way you can be complete is by having knowledge. But not just knowledge and application, right? So if I read something, I don't just read it. I go out and practice it. I go out and do it. And so that's what you have to do with what I'm going to teach you here today, is not just listen to it and go, hey, that was pretty interesting information, or that guy bored the heck out of me. I'm going to give you application. Okay. So that's what we need to do. So high performance, right? You need to be high performance. We're going to talk about money, how you're going to connect that money. So let's go into that next phase, right? And I'm going to talk about this ascension path. And as I talk about the ascension, I'm going to meld in some of the different courses that I have so you can understand why I put them together and how they can help you. And again, you don't have to buy a thing from me. It's not going to affect me either way. It's only going to affect you in the sense that you're going to get the results and the benefits from it. That's all there is, right? So I just want to make that perfectly clear, that it doesn't matter to me either way. But I know that enough of you who are, really smart and understand the power of it will take advantage of it. And many of you have already, because I know many of you are already studying the system and doing everything like that. So let's talk about this conscious and subconscious mind, right? So you got your conscious mind and you've got the subconscious mind, right? And what's happening through your entire life, and let's say you're 20, let's say 30, 40, 50, 60, I'm not going to go past that. When you're 20 years old, you don't have enough experiences, although you think you do, but you're constantly being influenced. You're being influenced by peers, you're being influenced by your family, you're being influenced by particular ideologies, what you're going to find. And again, everything I'm telling you, you can look this up and you can investigate into it and understand why things are done. 20 years old or less, it's probably from the age of probably 17 to 30. That's when political parties and that's when religious groups, we're going to say political and religious groups, that's the age group that you want to recruit. Do you know why? Because the brain is still forming. You're still forming your personality. Now, by the time you get to 20, you may have been indoctrinated by your parents. You may have been indoctrinated by a mentor. You may have been indoctrinated to a specific religion, to a specific political party. And then you get into your 20s and you start rethinking that stuff. And so if your parents were extremely liberal and or conservative, you might go the opposite direction because of what you learned when you went to college, or what you learned when you went on your first job, or what you learned when you went and you studied with a certain person, right? So you're changing, right? But you've been influenced up until that period of time. And you'll notice that it's very rare for, if somebody's parents are a particular political party, it's very rare that the kids will be a different one unless they've had a major change. Now, what happens is in the 20s, you will probably dabble in outside of what your parents taught you, because between 15 and 30, you don't really believe anything your parents says is really that smart. You think they're kind of dumb unless they've indoctrinated you that they are the source, right? Source. Are your parents the source? I know many friends of mine whose parents are the source. I like to think that I'm the source for my children. And probably there are some ways that I am and other ways that I'm not. But that is a truism. Now, as you get older, you get to 30, you've packed into what you believe, either religiously or politically, right? Very rarely do people change as they get older, unless they have some kind of experience that turns them away. Like, for instance, a good experience would be somebody that goes into the military in an extremely right wing. They go in the military, they see all the killing and all the craziness that goes on, and they come out more liberal because they just see that as that conservatism of going to war and being like a hawk, right? And they come back and they're changed, right? Now you got other guys that exact opposite. They go in there a little bit more liberal, but they become more conservative based on that. So everyone is going to be different. But I want you to understand, when you're in your 20s, man, you're learning. That's why, like I said, look it up. Cults, political groups, and religions, they're recruiting people that are in that age range. They're not going after people that are in there over 30. They will. It's not like they're not going to take you, but that's the group that they're going to be able to influence. By the time you get to 30, you start to slow down on influence. You're still influenced, but you're being influenced in different ways. You're now being influenced from the media. You're now being influenced by the people you work with, because now you're becoming a little bit more mature. You know what's amazing is that I remember when I was in college, and my buddy and I, we would go to his parents' house, and his dad would always be watching these news shows, these media shows. And we were young guys, we were going out and drinking beer and going to parties and stuff. We were so bored watching these political shows and everything like that. And we were like, come on, turn that crap off. We want to watch a movie. We want to watch Ghostbusters or Weird Science or some kind of stupid movie. We had no interest in that at all. I mean, we couldn't care less. Now today, both of us in our 56, or both 56, is we both probably would watch the political show and find it to be interesting, because we've evolved, right? We've been indoctrinated. We've grown up a little bit. And again, the reason I'm saying this is I want you to understand wherever you're at. I don't know where you're at on this scale, but I want you to understand where you're at. It really is, when I work with somebody personally as a coach, it always comes down to where you're at, to where you want to be. And we'll say this is Z, right? A to Z. Where are you starting from and where you're going? You might only be going to B, right? You might be going to P. But I don't know where that is unless I know who you are, unless I know what you're all about. I know you're 50 years old. You've been divorced twice. You've got 3 kids. They're estranged from you because of the mistakes you made in your life. You know, I find out that you're 45 years old and you've got the perfect marriage, perfect kids. You've always done things the right way because of the way you were raised, the college you went into, but you still feel inadequate. You've always had a weight problem, even though you're super successful, right? I'm just giving you some examples that I run into. Or the person that's 60 years old that says, I feel like I botched my life, that I had all this potential and I never really used it up. I never used the potential. Well, for anybody that's older, I want you to understand one thing. If you look at the political world, and this is so important, is that if you look at the people that are running for president at any given time, first of all, I think the minimum age to be president of the United States, of course, other countries I don't really know, I think it's 40. But you're going to find that most people running for office are in their 60s, which in a lot of jobs, that's like getting ready to retire. But you see plenty of people. I think President Trump is 70s plus. Bernie Sanders is almost 80. He's like 75, maybe more. Joe Biden is 73, whatever, right? So these guys, they're just getting ready to get started. It's kind of crazy to me to think that those are the people that we want to vote in as our leaders of our country, somebody that's that aged. Of course, Reagan was up there in age too. I want you to think about that. No matter where you're at on that scale, 20 to 60, where do you fall? And what are your thoughts about where you're at? Okay, because this all comes in to this control factor. This all comes into how you're going to react to how you're going to get better at dealing with this mind control. No matter where you're at, whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever, 60, 70, 80. I work with people that are, you know, I've worked with people that are into teenagers, and I've worked with people that are over 60 in their 70s, 80s. I had no issues with age. Age to me is just a number. In fact, I was doing a consulting gig recently, and the guy says to me, he goes, you know, when you get to my age, you're really going to understand. I said, really? I said, why don't you, how old are you? He says, I just turned 40. I said, well, partner, I got like 15 years on you. He says, what? I said, yeah, I'm 55. And he looked at me and he goes, there's no way you're 55. And I said, dude, you're looking at him, right? So again, it's the energy, it's the mindset, it's also obviously genetics, but all those things tied together brings out that youthfulness. Now, maybe some of you might look at me and go, man, I do look super old. But a lot of times I will be, I have that younger energy. All right. So I want you to understand you're starting from A to B. And I know some of you are saying, hey, get to the good part. This is the good part. Because without this part, and let me just tell you, without having this setup, without understanding where you're at right now, it's going to be more difficult for you to get to where you want to go. And like I said, hundreds of people said, I want control, I want control, I want control. Because guess what? I gave them the command. Send me an email that says, I want control. And they obeyed. They obeyed. Now, I'm going to go into a concept right now that you're going to find very interesting. So I sent an email to thousands of people. And I said, if you want control, I want you to reply back to that email. And I want you to say, I want control. Now, why did that work? Because I was letting somebody know that I could assist them. And I wanted to identify the individuals that want control of their lives. Now, you could say that I'm influencing them. You could say that they're following my instructions. It's probably a little bit of both. But I want the feedback. I want control, right? And when somebody admits that I want control, the next thing is I'm going to get control. I'm in the process of becoming a controller, right? Process. I want you to be always in the, you don't always have to be in the process, but process is a powerful word. I am in the process of becoming a highly successful individual in my field of blank, earning X amount of money per year. I'm in the process. Let me tell you why the process. Because when you put the concept of a process to your mind, it doesn't give you a yes or no. A process is like if you said to me, if you and I are sitting here and you say, I'm in, let's say there's a bar down the street. I'm in that bar right now. Well, guess what? You're not. You're sitting in front of me, right? You could say, I'm going to go to the bar, right? Okay, makes sense. If you say, I'm in the process of going to the bar, think about how the mind reacts to that small change. So the first thing is we're sitting here and you say, I'm at the bar, right? So let's do this. So let's talk about a concept of money, right? So let's talk about I'm rich, right? I'm wealthy. Let's say wealthy, right? I don't know what that means to somebody. I'm wealthy. When you say that to your mind, right? Your mind says, no, you're not. Okay. Now watch this next one. I'm going to be wealthy. Okay, so at least the way I understand it, I'm going to be wealthy. That is a sentence that is what's called lazy talk, because there's no commitment. I'm going to be wealthy. I'm going to be in shape. I'm going to be a better husband. I'm going to be a better father. I'm going to be a better employee. There's no meat on that bones. I'm in the process of being wealthy. Now, these are very simple things, but it's the simple things in life that are the powerful things in life. I want you to understand this concept. Hopefully it is making sense to you. I'm wealthy. Your brain says, no, you're not. You're working on the back of a garbage truck. I'm going to be wealthy. Yeah, but that's kind of like wishful thinking, right? I'm going to win the lottery. When I'm in the process of being wealthy, the process indicates movement, right? I'm in the process of moving to California. What does that mean? So if you say I'm going to move to California, the question would be when. When you say I'm in the process of moving to California, that brings up a concept in the mind of you packing boxes and planning the trip and all of that type of thing, right? And then as you say, I'm in the process of being wealthy, you can always go after that, I am a wealthy person because I have good habits or whatever, right? So you take it down that entire process. Now, here's the other thing. So I'm going to give you a couple of the ones, a couple affirmations I say, and then I'm going to tell you exactly why you do it this way. This is one I've been using for a long time. I am bold and confident. I've been saying that every day for 20, 25 years, probably since I was 24 years old. I am bold and confident. And I believe that, right? Now, in the beginning, I didn't know the process thing. I might have started off as saying I'm in the process of being bold and confident for what, but I am bold and confident right now. Now, it depends on the situation, but overall, I am bold and confident. You won't find somebody that's more bold or more confident than me for the most part. I want you to start thinking like that, okay? But if you have to go into process first, that's fine. I am bold and confident. He is bold and confident. I'm he, okay? And then the third way, Al Perhax is bold and confident. Okay? I am bold and confident. He is bold and confident, me. It's kind of that guy. And then Al Perhax is bold and confident because I'm using my name, right? And so when you come up with affirmations, that's what you do. You create that mind picture. And so you can use it in those three different ways. You don't have to always do it that way, but you mix it up. I'm going to show you something. I don't know if I showed this on the last webinar or not, but I'm going to show this to you. These are my cards that I used when I was, this is Alvin T. Perhax Jr., Territory Manager, Integrated Product Solutions, Bluestone Consulting. The company's not even around anymore. They're out of business. They were sold and resold and repackaged. But here it is. I am disciplined and stay focused on my goals. This is probably like 1996, 97, 98. Everyone I talk to wants to get involved in business with me. My words heal, quicken, vitalize, prosper, and satisfy, and make rich everyone I meet. These are ones I still say today. I expect success every day. I'm a positive influence on everyone I come in contact with. I am relaxed and in control at all times. In control at all times. How about this one? I am bold and confident. So these cards, I saved them in an old wallet that I keep my little keepsakes in here. But these are my cards that I carried around with me at the time, and I would pull them out 3 or 4 times a day. And I would just go through them and read them. If I was sitting on a train, if I was waiting for somebody in an office, I would go through my cards. And whatever it is that I want to achieve, I write it down and I put it in a card. It's affirmation. If you get anything out of this training today, whether you know about affirmations or not, you just start writing what you want to become, and you will become that if you indoctrinate yourself enough with what it is that you want to become. So when I tell you to use an affirmation, it's like sustenance for the mind. It's power for the mind, just like you have to sleep. If I told you on this webinar, on this workshop, that I suggest you don't sleep anymore, that you probably should not sleep, but you should just do this training, and that you will be a super success, you would go, this guy's crazy. I need to sleep. If I don't sleep, eventually I would die, because, you know, everyone needs sleep. If I told you no longer should you eat because this is going to give you all the power that you need, same thing. You'd be like, this guy's off his rocker, right? And yet I'm telling you that you've got to influence your mind on a daily basis, because you've got all of these other factors, right? You've got all of these other factions, right? You got all these other factions that want a piece of your mind, right? And this is your mind here. And they want a piece of your mind, the media, because they can sell you stuff, right? You've got the government and political groups trying to get into your mind because they're going to influence you the way they want. Religious groups. And I'm very spiritual. I come from a Christian background, but I wouldn't necessarily say I'm religious, but I understand how religious groups work because I was involved in a lot of that stuff. Converting people, getting them to come to my way of thinking. I understand that, right? You got religion, you've got your peers, peer pressure. You've got family. They all want a piece of your mind. And the way you are going to control and you're going to be able to block all of this and only let in what you want to let in is by understanding the concepts that we're talking about and going to continue to talk about. You've got to learn a blocking mechanism in order to block the things that don't serve you. You've got to be the person that controls your channels. Not the media, not the government, not a political group, not even your family, not even your peers, not even religions, not even a business group, job, business. You need to be the controller. You ultimately need to be the controller. And the way you're going to do that is by making the conscious decision of affirmations, auto-suggestions, right? It's called auto-suggestions. Go and look at Think and Grow Rich. Fantastic book. Auto-suggestions. Affirmations. Basically the same thing. Self-talk. Same thing. Trance. Put yourself in a trance and hypnotize yourself for that auto-suggestions, right? There's all these different methods to get there. And I'm gonna showcase to you. And again, like I said, there's only so much I can cover in a short meeting, but I want you to get the gist is that auto-suggestions, affirmations, subliminals. Now, here's the thing about subliminals that I want you to understand. Okay. I'm probably guilty of this in that, and this is important because I get this question all the time. Subliminals. I've had people say to me, "Hey, Al, I've got this subliminal MP3 file that is supposed to, cause me to be wealthy, right? And if I just listen to it, it's going to cause me to be wealthy." Well, yes and no. Okay. And let me tell you how these things work. So you got these subliminals, right? So let's go back to the mind. That's the worst looking guy I've drawn so far. Looks like this dude needs a little workout action, right? So let's add some hair on to this cat, right? Give him a little something there, right? So the way these subliminal works is that, let's say you get an MP3 file that is some kind of subliminal. And believe me, I listen to subliminals all the time. I listen to, different sounds, alpha waves, theta waves. In fact, some of the programs you'll get from me have the alpha waves, the theta waves, the delta waves, the beta wave. Everything is there, right? You listen to an MP3, okay? And you think that you're going to listen to the MP3 and then all of a sudden it's going to cause all of this success. Now, the thing is, you get the MP3, you plug it in, you put your headphones on and you're listening to this thing every day. And then you go, it just doesn't seem to be working because your expectations of what it does is inaccurate. And probably the way it was sold to you was inaccurate. But you can use these subliminal files in order to get the results, but you have to combine them with your own affirmations. Even if you get a subliminal file that is saying you are a strong and healthy 125 pounds, or you are strong and healthy 155 pounds, they will work as long as you totally indoctrinate yourself with it. But here's what I found. And this is what I found through hundreds of hours of study with students, clients, instructors, business colleagues, is that you speak the words. So when I speak the words, I am bold and confident. Okay, if I speak that word, I am bold and confident. It's going out there. I'm professing it. Okay. And then my subconscious mind is also hearing that as I speak it. Now, the more that I'm convinced of what I say goes into the subconscious mind. Now, I could also have, and this is what I do on my MP3s. Where's my phone? Here's my phone. And I do MP3s on here all the time of my own. I do a morning ritual with affirmations, auto-suggestions, MP3, subliminal files. So don't think that I'm saying that these aren't effective, but what I'm doing is I'm going to bombard my mind with that which I want to accomplish. I don't want to leave it to chance. I'm not going to be thinking that if I just listen to this file, that all of a sudden I'm going to be amazingly wealthy, or I'm going to stop smoking, or I'm going to lose all this weight. Because nothing ever happens like that. I'm not going to get wealthy because of that. Now, there might be the one person out of a million that works on, but I hate to break it to you, that's not how things work. However, if you put a small amount of time in, you can get these to work magnificently if you understand how they work. I am bold and confident, but I'm also having an energy with that. I am bold and confident. I feel good. I'm in a great emotional state. I go in a mirror and I look in my eyes, right? So I go into a mirror. We'll say this is a mirror. And I stare at myself in that mirror and I look in my eyes. Man, I look kind of like a Martian there, if that's me, or a turtle or something. But here's the deal. When you look in your eyes, in the mirror, you look at yourself and you say, I am bold and confident. And you look at your eyes and you tell it to yourself, I believe in myself. I am in the process of making the transition from where I'm at to where I want to be. And I'm going to do whatever it takes in order to make that happen. If that means I need to go back to school, if that means I need to learn a skill, if that means I need to lose weight, if that means I need to stop smoking, if that means I need to get into a new relationship, if it means that I need to be on a spiritual path, if it means that I need to, kick a bad habit, alcohol, drugs, sex, whatever, I'm in the process of doing that. And I'm the one that controls it. And as I'm looking at the camera, I'm looking at it like I'm looking in the mirror, just like you're going to look in the mirror, and you're going to derive power from that. Now, to some of you, you're going to say, that's a lot of work, and I don't know if I believe it that much. And that's okay. But go online. I want you to look up this guy, Dan Pena. Some of you may know who he is. He's a very coarse individual. He's a bastard in probably a word. He's a bastard in the sense that he's not the nicest guy in the world. But you can learn from somebody like that because he tells it straight, tells it like it is, and he'll be the first one to tell you that affirmations work. But you've got to consistently say them all the time. Look this guy up. Half of you will hate him, promise. The other half of you will, you may love him, right? I don't know. But he'll tell you that. He's created something like, 1,000 millionaires, some crazy number. And he's fabulously wealthy. He is high performance. Okay. He is the type of individual that is rock solid in his belief. He is bold and confident, right? You can be bold and confident, right? So let's move along. So let's talk a little bit about the pathway, right? How are we going to get to where you want to go? And I'm going to outline it for you. I think it's going to make sense. And if it doesn't, that's fine too. But let's talk about the pathway, the ascension. We talked about the energetic pathway. Let's talk about this hypnotic mindset domination. I've already given you enough great information that if you just take the snippets I gave you and you actually put it in flight time, you'll get amazing results. Now, if you don't, you'll get something else. But let's talk a little bit about a pathway. So the first course I ever created, manipulation. You may have heard of it. In fact, hold on one second. I'm gonna go grab my books real quick. I'll be right back. All right, so I'm gonna give you the opportunity to get a hold of these manuals in digital format. I've got some copies that they go in and out of print from my publishing house, but you can get these on Amazon. They sell for about $30 a piece. I'm going to allow you to get them for a lot less. But this contains these two manuals, hard copy manuals. There's really 4 manuals here: manipulation, master secrets of covert persuasion, hypnotic influence. And let me just let me show these to you real quick. So this is manipulation, the master secrets of covert persuasion, hypnotic influence. As you can see, it's not a very thick book, but it's more of a manual. It has pure meat. If you go through this manual and you just use the techniques in here, you will get amazingly successful in hypnotic influence, covert persuasion. Without a doubt, there's no question about it. This stuff works. Okay, I can pull out something here. Let's just pull something out real quick. Is subconscious nonverbal communication. There are 3 levels to your communication: what you say verbally, what you say mentally, and what your energy says, right? So going with that, since I just pulled it out of the hat here, let's talk a little bit about that. So I say something verbally. I say something to you. Like, I'm going to use this perception here. Let me go back into the board here. So I wrote an email the other day: act on my advice. That is a hypnotic command, because what I'm telling you to do is to act on my advice. Okay? It's a command. Act on my advice. So when I give you advice, you act on it, right? That's what that means. And so I wrote that in the email. I highlighted it. I bolded it. I might have even underlined it: act on my advice. But if you and I were together and I said that to you, I would say, act on my advice. And as I'm saying it to you, I'm speaking it, verbal communication, verbal C. I'm communicating it through the spoken word. Mentally, when you act on my advice, I'm mentally picturing you acting on my advice. So it depends what we're talking about. If I said to you, well, when you do business with me and you take me on as a consultant or a coach for your program, and when you act on my advice, you're going to become that much more successful. In my mind, I picture you acting on my advice. What does that mean? The mental pictures I'm sending you might be you signing a contract with me. It might be you and I in a room consulting. It might be you getting the result of acting on my advice by being more successful. See, so that's the mental image, right? Even though I verbally said it to you, the mental image. And I use that mental image even in the email of what I want you to do and feel. I know that sounds crazy, and many of you are like, BS, right? You're going to call BS on it. But the fact of the matter is, it works, okay? Does it work on everybody 100% of the time? No, but it works, okay? Now, let me tell you why it doesn't work 100% of the time, because it depends on, somebody's thought patterns, depends how clogged up the mind is, depends how open their body is. There's a lot of factors as to why things don't work, 100% of the time. So I'm not here to tell you that they do, because if I did, I'd be a liar, and I don't want to be a liar, right? So we get the verbal communication, get the mental communication, and I've got the energetic communication. This is all from this simple little manipulation manual, just one little piece One little piece of the puzzle there. And so that energetic communication is a good feeling. It's when you act on my advice, you're going to feel so good that you're going to realize that I am the person that you want to work with. Because when you act on my advice, it's going to not only cause you to feel so fantastic, so euphoric, so blissful, that you're going to know deep inside your heart and even in the back of your mind that this is the very best thing that you can do right this second. And that energy makes you feel so good. You see, so when you're communicating, you're not just communicating with words. You're not just communicating with your mind. You're not just communicating, you're communicating with all three at all times. Now, again, that takes a conscious effort. In the beginning, when I first started doing this, I actually had to think about it. Okay, I'm going to say act on my advice. I'm going to send the energy. I'm going to send the mental thought. It was all conscious, right? It was all conscious. But then as you get good and you say act on my advice, all of this stuff, automatic. Because my subconscious mind is prepared that when I say act on my advice, it automatically sends that mental imagery. My subconscious is already programmed with the energy from doing hundreds and hundreds of hours of blood washing and energetic exercises that automatically sends over this phenomenal energy that you feel, and it resonates with you and you go, man, that feels good. I want to do business with this person, right? And that, or want to go on a date with that person, or I want to give this person some of my time because I believe in their cause, whatever it is. Verbal, mental, energetic. It's another tidbit today that I usually don't teach right off the bat, but you've got it in this workshop and you can immediately use it. Now, if you don't immediately use it, that's your fault. Quite frankly, it's your fault. Next thing up is the Mind Force closed door hypnosis files. This manual has just about everything you could ever imagine in regard to hypnotic influence. It has what used to be called hetero hypnosis, but I changed the name to the Hypnotic Influence Blueprint, which I think makes more sense. And then it's got the closed door self-hypnosis total control files, and then the 12 devices that almost instantly hypnotize you with these, charts that most hypnotists would see as, just bogus drawings. But let me tell you something. Not only do these devices have power hypnotically, they have power energetically, and you can use them for many, many, many different things. And that's just two of these manuals right there, the hypnotic manuals. If you wanted to start there, that's a great place to start. It's inexpensive, but you got to do the work. You got to read them. You don't just read them though. Why do I have a highlighter here? Because everything I read, I highlight. Everything I do on my iPad, that's why I've got an iPen or whatever this thing's called, Apple Pen, is because when I am reading on my iPad, I'm highlighting, I'm writing, I'm making sure that everything I look at, I'm integrating into my mind, my body, my spirit. It's all part of the communication. It's all part of this hypnotic influence. Let's go to the next phase here. So obviously the manuals, manipulation is part of that. The course, there's a full course on manipulation. It's like 6 hours long. It's my original hypnosis course. I did it back in 2001. Wait, 2001? Yeah, 2001. I did it 2001. Wrote the book and the course in 2001, right around the time 9/11 was happening. And people said, why would you write a course now? Things are going crazy, right? But I wrote it and it's become very successful. And it's a phenomenal course, even to this day. Again, like I said, it's evergreen. It's always going to apply. Number 2 is called Ultimate Hypnotic Influence. And by the way, you can look on this page and you can see below all the different courses, what they come with. And I mean, it's just a plethora of information, priced at a phenomenal price for you to take advantage of it today. So get access today, or else you're going to pay more in the future. If you want results. If you don't want results, you can go away, no problem. But Ultimate Hypnotic Influence, I did that in 2004. And what I did is I broke down the skills of hypnotic influence into modules. And so I built this course because I said, what if somebody just wants to buy an MP3 on, hypnotic tools? Then they could pay $25 or something and they could get just that MP3, right? Just kind of like selling a single. And this is like 6.5 hours long, Ultimate Hypnotic Influence. And if you listen to that piece that I made available to everybody, that's the first 30 minutes of it. That's the first 30 minutes of the 6.5 hours. Great information. Information that is, I did it in the studio so that there's no fluff time, there's no downtime. It's bam, 6 hours of hypnotic influence protocol, self-hypnosis, auto-suggestion, powerful stuff. You can't go through that course and not come away knowing more than when you started. An application. I re-listened to it just last week and I'm like, damn, this is such a good course. I hardly ever promote it. And I should be promoting it because it is good. 3 is called control factor. Now, control factor is one of the most unique products I've ever done. And I did that in 2010. And that's, I don't know, 3 hours long, 4 hours, something like that. But here's the significance of control factor. Is control factor, I do what's called powerful man and powerful woman. And the reason I'm talking to you about these courses, because this is the pathway to get you where you want to go. Now, control factor, I wrote that because I wanted more concise auto-suggestions and the complete understanding of how to identify almost every sentence and the power in each sentence. I literally break down each sentence in an entire hypnotic influence script. I break down every sentence and I explain to you exactly why I put it in there and the power that it contains. You can learn from that one video and the corresponding notes that go along with it, probably more than anything you would ever learn on self-hypnosis from anyone else. I've never seen anything else like it out there in the market. And it's powerful. Like I said, powerful man, powerful woman. And then you can either record it yourself. I teach you how to record it yourself, or you can use the powerful man subliminals and affirmations that I have, or the powerful woman. And I have a woman that does the powerful woman and I do the powerful man. And it's a mind-blowing course. No question about it. And then 4th would be self-hypnosis, total control files, closed door hypnosis. Sorry about that. Closed door. And the reason I call it closed door hypnosis is that I introduce concepts that, again, you won't find anywhere else. Different forms of manipulation, different forms of affirmations, auto-suggestions, mind-to-mind communication, stuff that you're just not going to see really anywhere else. At least I haven't. And I buy stuff all the time because I want to know what people are saying, right? Some of them are copying my stuff. Some of them have no clue because they don't know this stuff. So that's the next course. And then there's what I call hypnotic abundance effect. And it's essentially what that does is takes hypnotic influence in an abundance format. What do you need to do to convince your mind hypnotically that you're abundance? Again, it's that process as I'm in the process of becoming abundant. That's packed into that course. The hypnotic abundance effect. When you put that together with all of these other programs, it's like a nuclear bomb. And then last but not least, I've got a program called Rapid Fire that's about an hour and 15 minutes long of different and additional hypnotic protocols, right? And then I throw in some subliminals and a whole bunch of other stuff. And you can find, like I said, you can find a lot more of that information on the page here that'll give you that idea of how to get good. I want you to get good. I want you to embrace these concepts so that you can be a controller. But, you know, I hate to make it sound, I don't want to make it sound easy, but I also don't want to make it sound hard, because it's not hard. It just takes flight time. I spoke to somebody on the phone the other day during a consultation, a mentoring session. And the guy was like, man, I'm overwhelmed with all this training. And I said, well, you've got to understand what you want first. If you need to use hypnotic influence, then focus on that. And what part of you want to focus? Listen to this, right? I put him immediately on Ultimate Hypnotic Influence and said, I want you to listen to this course as the start. It's 6.5 hours long. He drives to work. Of course, he's not driving to work now, but he's walking around the house with his headphones, listening to the course. He called me up the other day after listening to it and said, oh my God, that is awesome. He goes, I was taking notes as I was walking around the house, doing chores, doing this and that. And I said, okay, that's cool. Now you have to apply it. Don't just listen. It's learning and then application. Don't ever think that it's just one way or the other. It's more than just learning. It's more than just putting on a cassette or an MP3, a video, and watching it. And a lot of you probably do that. I want to encourage you, stop just watching stuff and watch things now and then apply it. So as you watch this, I've given you a lot of information already. If you and I charge $500 an hour when I do personal sessions. My 12-week program, Up Level Control, is $5,000. To have me for a year, a monthly training set, monthly mentoring and coaching is $15,000. So I ain't cheap. And these are the same types of things that I would teach to people that I'm actually going through coaching with. So this is the same type of information that I'm giving to my personal coaching clients. The only difference is we're not doing this one-on-one. Of course, I give them a few more tips than that. It's more personalized, obviously. But I start people at the starting point, right? Because you have to start from point A before you can get to point B to get to where you want to go. And so I'm going to write down a couple other things for you. You want to get good? You want to become a controller? Everyone does. But do you want to pay the price? Here's the price. Read. Listen. And watch. 3 is associate. And 4 is execution. You want to read powerful books, manuscripts that are going to keep your mind right. I do it every day. If I have media coming at me a day, if I'm watching it, I need to read something good. Okay. If I want to learn a skill, I'm going to read about it. I'm going to listen. I'm going to watch videos. I'm going to take that application. I'm going to write notes. I'm going to associate with people that can help me to get to where I want to go. That's, mentoring and coaching. I hired a young guy, 28 years old, pay him $1,100 to coach me. I'm going to pay him another $1,100 in in a couple weeks, right? So I don't care if he's 28. He's got a skill that I'm going to learn, and he's teaching me, and he's good, damn good. You see, and then I'm going to take that and execute. You need to do the same thing. You need to understand how this dynamic works. Now, how does this going to work for you? I'm going to tell you exactly what I've got and how it's going to benefit you. So I've got a couple options for you on this page. Actually, you can read them. Let me, if you'll bear with me for just a minute, I'll explain them to you. Got 3 offers. First offer is what I call the Hypnotic Influence and Mindset Domination System. And that system contains every product that I talked about: manipulation, ultimate hypnotic influence, control factor, hypnotic abundance effect, self-hypnosis, hypnotic manuals, has everything. And if you bought all of these things separate, it would be about $1,000. It normally sells, which I think is dirt cheap, $297. During this special promotion time, I'm going to allow you to get it $147 for everything. Everything. $147. I'll run this for about 4 days, and then it's going to go immediately back up to $297. I may keep it at $297. I may make it more, whatever the case might be. But right now you can get it for $147. All those courses, all that power. That's option number 1. That's your best option, right? Your second best option is UHI, Ultimate Hypnotic Influence. I mentioned to you before about it. 8 modules. And you can see on the page down below descriptions of the modules on one of the pages here. 8 modules, 6.5 hours of content, powerful content. And that normally sells for $97. When I first came out, it was $150. It's now $97 digitally. But during the special promotion, you can pick that up for only $47. $47 and you've got UHI. You can start learning. You want to jump to some of the other stuff, certainly you're welcome to do that, right? So that's the second best offer. And then number 3 is the manipulation manual. 1 manual, and it's got some bonuses and things with it. That normally sells for $27. All the manuals sell for $27 each digitally. But what I would do in this special promotion is you can get the manipulation manual for $9.95, and that's this manual right here. That's the manipulation manual. It won't be the hard copy though. It'll be the digital copy of manipulation. So I thought long and hard about this. My original inclination on this one was just keep it at $297 because I think it's definitely worth that. It's probably even worth closer to the $1,000 when you figure all the good information and the results you're going to get. I mean, you're going to change your life. You're going to change your mind. You're going to learn techniques that are going to allow you to build the mind power that you need in order to go from where you are to where you want to be. I mean, this is truly transformational knowledge and application. Now, of course, if you're not going to apply it, it doesn't do you any good. But I think this is a good choice for you. So you really got a couple choices. You can, number 1, you could keep doing what you're doing right now. Number 2, you could try to do it on your own. And that'll take you longer. So if you want to make more money, you want to lose more weight, get in better shape, you want to increase your mind so you can do all these things, there's a time factor. Or 3, you can access one of these options and start putting in the flight time and getting real results. And that's really what I wanted to talk to you about in this workshop. I know I am talking to you about my courses and everything like that, but I truly believe, and I put them together for people like you to change their lives. And many of you are already students of mine, so you know how good they are. I encourage you to go back and re-listen to it. But if there's any questions that you might have, I'm happy to do a follow-up training that goes into more detail on certain aspects. But again, like I said, the manipulation course is 6 hours long. The Ultimate Hypnotic Influence course is 6.5 hours long. The other ones are several hours long. So for me to try to pack all of that information into 1 hour or however long we've been on is impossible. But what I wanted to give you is I wanted to give you some guidelines that you can immediately use to change right now. And you can do that by using some of the concepts that we've already talked about, the affirmations, auto-suggestions. And again, your auto-suggestions are personal to you. So I gave you a couple that I've used. I showed you some of the ones I've used in the past, which I still use today. But that's going back 20 years, more than 20 years. And yet they're still being used today. They work then, they work now. You need to do the same thing. I've enjoyed sharing this information with you. My throat's, I'm almost to the point where it's hard to talk because I get excited when I talk about these things because I know how well they work and how well they'll work for you. And I hope you make a decision that you want to work with some of these tools because I know you'll get great results. I'm glad I could share this information with you. Again, like I said, any questions, let me know. I've enjoyed this. I hope you did too. Thanks for watching and have a fantastic day. So long.